Today, it's my pleasure to introduce Itzar de la Torre, our subject matter expert on LCTT. She's done a lot of work with LCTT, helped drive it, get the interface where it is, and we have improvements looming in December, so there's a lot happening on the LCTT side. I am Ralph Stillinger. I'm the Certification Committee Chair, and I'm happy to introduce Itzar to you. Thank you, Itzar.
Thanks, Ralph, for the introduction. So it's a pleasure to be here today with you. So I will start this webinar going through a quick introduction about the LoRaWAN certification. Probably you already joined the previous ones. And then I will continue with the main features of the LCTT testing tool, including its demonstration. So just as a quick introduction, the LoRaWAN certification is important in order to ensure the correct behavior of the devices following the LoRaWAN specification, and this will avoid any incompatibility with any LoRaWAN network server. Also, an advantage is that any LoRaWAN certified product will be included in the promotional marketing of the LoRa Alliance. And it's important to remark that the LoRaWAN certification is focused on the implementation on the end devices, and this includes the different LoRaWAN versions available until today. So the version 1.02, version 1.04, also including Class B, Class C, and some application layers like FOTA and Relay. So the steps to follow the LoRaWAN certification process, they could be summarized in some steps and few ones. So the first one is the most important is to become the LoRaWAN LoRa Alliance member. Being a member, you will have different advantages. Between those you will gain access to the LCTT tool, including a free license. And the LCTT testing tool, it's really important. It's really easy to use, and it will be helpful in order to pre-test and also test your end devices in order to get the LoRaWAN certification. This will save you money and time because you will be able to debug through all your issues. And it's really easy to use, and everything you need is a computer, a LoRaWAN gateway, and your LoRaWAN device. The LoRaWAN gateway, you could use any commercial gateway, which includes a packet forwarder, the standard packet forwarder. Also, you will get, at the same time, access to the LoRaWAN web certification system, which will simplify the whole communication through the LoRaWAN certification process. Once you would like to prepare your product for the test, the main important thing is that the certification protocols will be implemented. So this is defined to be used in the port 224. And this is important in order to be able to run all the tests automatically. So with this, the LCTT will be able to send downlinks in this port, allowing us to trigger some join requests or make commands or echo commands in order to verify the correct behavior of the end device. Also, the end device will be prepared in order to be automatically activated. So this means in case over-the-air activation is selected, the end device will send a join request automatically after it's switching it on. And then you will be able to run all the tests. So it's important that the new web certification system, it's going to replace the old questionnaire, which includes all parameters of the end device. As next step, we will recommend to go through an authorized test house, which will be able to run all the test cases, and this ensures a third-party certification And also you will get the whole support during the testing, giving you some tips about the problems and how to solve them. Otherwise, there is also another possibility for self-testing. This is only allowed for some members which have been already certified for this. Anyway, after running the test, you could send the logs and the whole information to the LoRa Alliance, and it will be reviewed, and then the LoRaWAN certificate could be issued. So this is a really quick overview of the whole certification process. And then into the LCTT testing tool, the main features are that any LoRaWAN version and the classes are be able to select it. You could also select different regions, so all the regions defined in the regional parameters document are available there. And an important feature is also the remote gateway configuration, which will allow you to automatically configure the gateway with the selected receive channels and the correct address of the LCTT computer in order to ensure that the gateway is correctly configured and all the tests will be possible. So, sorry, I could share my screen now in order to start with the demonstration. So here we could see the packet forwarder or the gateway that it's running. And the only thing you need is to enter the LCTT. Here, the user and the password used here are the same as in the LoRaWAN certification system. So you could log in, and then you could just continue through all the windows. So you could skip the software requirement. Here you could see the test cases package version. So the LCTT will try to verify that you are already using and installed the last one. If not, the latest version will be automatically downloaded and installed. And always the latest version is the one to be used in order to run the test for the certification. So in the next window, you will create the different projects. So in this case, we could just try to create one project. Take some time. And we have to go through all the steps in order to select the gateway we are using. Here is where we will set up the project settings. So the LoRaWAN region that we are going to use, the LoRaWAN version. So in this case, version 104. And here in the testing category, we could select the different categories. So pre-testing, the certification testing is the one used for the LoRaWAN certification. Pre-testing is actually the same one, but with a small difference. So, for example, in Europe, 16 channels are required in the gateway. If you are using a gateway with 8 channels, you are only able to do pre-testing. For the certification testing, you need 16-channel gateway. For this, you could use either a gateway with 16 channels gateway support, or also use the different gateways. And this is also included the support of multiple gateways in the LCTT. So now for the test, I will just use one gateway. So here you could define the IP address of the gateway, and then the IP address of the LCTT, of the PC where the LCTT is installed. And this will be the port, the UDP port to be used for the connection with the LCTT. The next window, you can basically ignore it. This will just summarize the most important parameters that are actually default parameters to be used for the test. So this screen is important in order to automatically configure the gateway with the correct settings. Also, but we will stop it because now the gateway is already running. Here, you could check that the communication with the gateway is correctly working. So if we check it, we will get pass. This will take some minutes. So here, this means it's working, so we could get to the next one. And here is the window where we could select which is the device that we are going to use for the test. So we could create a new device for those tests. Let's say this one. We could create it and then select the Boolean parameters, all the parameters for this device. So like the European version, just version 104. Here we could select if it's class B, class C, or class B device. The LoRaWAN activation to be used, in this case, over-the-air activation. And here there are further parameters like the FOTA parameters or relay in case some of those features are supported. So when you finish selecting the Boolean parameters, we could further continue with the non-Boolean parameters. The important ones, so the most important are the activation parameters. So like the over-the-air activation keys and the device UI. And here you could select the device address to be assigned by the LCTT to the device once the join accept will be sent. So having said that, and you could select the device, you could go to the next window where you could see all the available test cases for your device. So in this case, this one is the Class C test, and those are all the test cases available for Class A for version 104. The test cases that are in gray, those are not available for your setup because they are for other LoRaWAN version or other class or any other activation. So in this case, you could select all applicable test cases in order to run all the tests sequentially, or for the test so that it does not take so much, we could just take one of the test cases, which is really quick. We could run it. We have to wait until the LCTT gets the communication with the gateway. And take some minutes. Once you see the screen pull data, pull X, it means that the communication with the gateway has been managed. So you will start the activation process. So it's really nice that here in the trace window, you can see all the messages exchanged between the device and the LCTT. So in this case, the join request has been sent, join accept, the activation has been successfully finalized, and the LCTT will follow with all the steps defined in the test specification. Let's see. It continues with the test. All this information will be summarized in a log file, so where you could find it really useful, the frequency used for each uplinks, for each downlink, also the data rate used. And this is really important and useful in order to debug all the issues you find in the certification process, and you could solve all those implementations in your devices. If we wait some minutes, you can see how it's working. So you could see in this, on the right side, that the steps are going through, and you could see the current status if they pass or if they fail. In this case, I choose a test that is really quickly, and the end device, the LCTT will send downlinks in both windows, in the first one and in the second one. It's supposed that the end device will not open the second window in case something is received in the first one. So I just modified the firmware in order to get here a fail. So here we could see that the test that didn't success. So you could go here to the logs. You can find here the test that you have already run, and here the different status. So if you double click in here in the date, you will automatically open the folder where the logs are stored, and you could open the log, and you can see here where your end device failed. So, for example, you can see that the end device has sent an uplink. The LCTT sent two different downlinks. The second one with a confirmed downlink. So actually, the LCTT will not expect an acknowledge on the device, but the device sent the acknowledge. And that's why this is repeated 4 times, and the test fails because the second downlink should not be received. So this is just an example how you can use the LCTT in order to test different devices and to understand the logs of the different devices. So that's everything from my side. So, and Ralph, I think you can continue just telling the audience how important it is to join the LoRa Alliance.
Thank you so much, Itzar. That's wonderful. Itzar already touched on one of the major benefits of joining the LoRa Alliance, and that is having access to LCTT, which is the LoRaWAN Certification Test Tool. And that helps you pretty much pre-test your device, get it ready prior to submitting it to the ATLs. What you want to do is go ahead and see all your bugs and fix them before you give it to the ATL, and that way it's easier on the ATL to run these tests through. One thing she didn't mention was in some cases it might take 10 hours to run all your tests on your device. And then there's other tests that you can run that LCTT also supports, which is back-off tests and things of that nature. So it's a pretty strong tool to really hone out your device and make sure it is certifiable for the LoRa Alliance. Once you certify your device, then you have the option, another benefit of becoming part of the LoRa Alliance is to get that device on the LoRa Alliance marketplace. And that makes your device available from a networking perspective to a lot of our vendors and a lot of our partners and members. So the other thing that I also wanted to point out was for the LoRa Alliance, we also give you the ability to take a test, a pre-test, to hone up on your career and learning more about the LoRaWAN standard. And that's very good as far as having a greater understanding of the tool and where the LoRa Alliance and LoRaWAN is actually headed. Lastly, I wanted to open the floor for our questions and answers time. So we have a Q&A now that we're ready to proceed. Thank you so much. Let's take a look at some of these first questions. All right, we have quite a few questions coming in here, so let's start with one of the first questions here. Is it possible to run tests for the US 915 region with a standard 8-channel gateway?
Oh yeah, so actually this is an interesting question. So it is possible. So this is, so the LCTT has been implemented in a way that if you select the pre-testing category, you could be able to run the test only using one gateway with 8 channels. And some test cases have been modified in order to support this. But those test cases are slightly different to the ones defined in the standard, in the official certification process. So this means that for the standard, in order to run the standard certification, you should select the category certification testing. And in this case, you require a setup with 64 channels. So this means you can either use one gateway with 64 channel support or also use multiple gateways. Also, it's interesting to know that in this case, the LCTT is able to configure each of those gateways with different subbands in order to be able to detect and collect the 64 channels with multiple gateways.
Right.
And of course, this is also applicable to the other regions. So in case a 16 channel is defined, so you could use the 8-channel gateway for pre-testing, but the final certification should be run with all the channel support set up.
Exactly. So official certification requires 64 channels, but you could do some pre-testing and evaluation of your device with 8 channels. Understood. That's wonderful. Thank you. Here's another question about the licensing on the LCTT. Will there be a floating license which could be shared between different users in the same company, not using LCTT at the same time, available at some point for LCTT?
Oh, yeah. Indeed, this is a good question. So I forgot to remark this. So this is a good improvement that comes with the new user interface of the LCTT. So the user interface, version 3.0.0, includes this floating license. So with the previous versions, the license was fixed to a computer. But nowadays, the login data is used with the same credentials as in the certification web system. So this means that the system controls automatically the license, and different users could be able to share those licenses, always at different time. Yeah.
Right. So basically, you can have multiple users in the same company use that same license, not at the same time, just at different times. Then if they want to extend that and have 2 users using the license at the same time, they could purchase another license for an additional $1,000. All right. And then we have another question here in reference to version 1.0.3. Why is LoRaWAN version 1.0.3 not available in the certification tool LCTT? As far as I have seen, only 1.0.2 and 1.0.4. Go ahead, Itza.
Yeah, this is always a good question. So this is a bit misunderstanding sometimes. So actually, the LoRaWAN version 1.0.3 includes only basically improvements and clarifications for Class B. So this means LoRaWAN version 1.0.3 and LoRaWAN version 1.0.2 is totally compatible for Class A devices. So that's why the certification tool was not updated at that moment for version 103, because for 102 only class A test cases are available. So this means actually nowadays, if a device it requires a certificate for version 103, the test cases defined and available for version 102 can be run, and a waiver can be also applied in order to get the certificate for the correct version. So,
great, that makes sense because the protocol is the same.
Yeah, thanks.
Wonderful. We have another question too. When running LCTT, is it necessary to run the particular test cases in a particular order?
Not always. Actually, you could choose if you would like to run all applicable test cases or to run only some selected test cases. You could always run all applicable test cases, and in case one test fails, because sometimes one uplink, one downlink has been missed, you could always rerun this test case as a single test. Particularly, it's important in the version 104 to run the one test case will be run at the end of the test cases, and this is the test that is trying to disable the certification port, so the port 224. That is the one that should be run at the end, just because if you disable this port, you will not be able to control the end device using this port. But for the other test cases, there is actually no order.
Great, thank you for that. We have another question in regards to FHSS. So is it possible to test the US 915 in FHSS mode with 125 kilohertz TX channels only, not hybrid?
I'm not sure if I understand this question. So actually, this has been also modified. The last LCTT package has been modified in order to include the FHSS testing for US. I know this requires different setups. So at the moment, I only know one commercial gateway that is able to support this special data rate. So as far as I know, you will need to use different gateways in order to be able to run the complete test. What is always possible to run in the LCTT is also to use multiple standard gateways without FHSS support, and just include one gateway with FHSS support for that. In that case, there has been, the LCTT includes also a configuration parameters in order to configure the LCTT to select if you would like to test all the data rates, all the channels configured for FHSS, or you could always also select only one of them. I don't know if this is clear. This is actually a special setup that is required.
Right, right. And those setups are all available through the LCTT configuration parameters. When you set up a brand new end device, you get the Boolean parameters and you get the non-Boolean parameters. And you pretty much specify that as part of your setup. And when you fill out the LCWS on the website, you fill out all those parameters that you're going to be using and how those work. All right, I think we have time for one more question. Is there any special hardware required to run Class B tests?
Yes, so it is. The special part for Class B is the GPS part. So in order to be able to send the beacons and the ping slots. So actually the LCTT requires a gateway with GPS support, or you should be able to connect the GPS to that. And There is also a special small modified packet forwarder, so a packet forwarder with a small modification in order that to allow the LCTT to control the parameters used for the beacons, because the LCTT will transmit the beacons through the gateway, and some of the beacons could be also modified with wrong parameters in order to test the complete behavior on the device.
Thank you very much. I believe one more question tried to fit in here at the end, and that is, do you know if Redwood Communications LoRaWAN tester, RWC 5020B/A, can it be used for LCTT pretest? And go ahead, if you know the answer, if not, I'll answer that question.
I know that there are some testers that allows to run a similar packet forwarder. So if this is possible, it could be possible to connect it to the LCTT, but I don't have so many details about this special model. So if you know it.
Right. It's more used, Redwood Communications is more used for checking the hardware, making sure the communication, all the RF, everything is working correctly, and it does have some protocol testing, but it's not as comprehensive as the LCTT pretest. So I would still recommend that you use the LCTT pretest to confirm that the protocol is correct, because there's a lot of handshaking going back and forth with the LCTT pretest. Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate all the questions, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar.
Thank you very much. And please let us know if you have any further questions, so you can always reach out. So thanks.
Very good.